Our third speaker is Deborah Rigling Gallagher. She's an assistant professor of the practice of environmental policy at Duke University, and she's the executive director of their environmental leadership program. Prior to her academic career, she had a job in what students often say is the real world, holding leadership positions in the public and the private sector, most recently as a director of environment, safety, and health for Kraft. Let's give a welcome to Deb Rigling Gallagher.
Okay. Do you have it? Okay. Good morning, and thanks so much for inviting me to talk. I'm going to try to make up some time. I wanted to start with a quote from John Ruggie, because what I want to talk about today is about environmental leadership. The UN Global Compact has been envisioned as a platform for enabling leadership among business in addressing some of the ills of society. And so I want to really focus on the environment. That's my passion. That's where my work is all done. Let's see. Okay. So how do participants in the Global Compact exercise environmental leadership? Well, they participate in these environmental platforms. Yesterday we had the opportunity to hear Leila Karbasi talk about some of the environmental platforms that she is leading at the Compact. They become institutional entrepreneurs. So they share their knowledge, they meet together, they diffuse their knowledge and their leadership practices out in the world and throughout their global supply chains. I want to talk about an interesting experience that I had working with Leila and her group in the UN Global Compact as an academic doing really applied research on a very short time frame. Some interesting things happened. But first I want to set up the sort of structure of how these initiatives work at the Global Compact. They work along the lines of businesses addressing the three environmental principles. You can see them here, that businesses should support a precautionary approach to environmental challenges. This means that businesses should work in advance of environmental crises. They should be addressing climate change, should have addressed climate change a long time ago. Now we're in a situation where we have to mitigate rather than we have to adapt rather than mitigate. Businesses should take initiatives to promote greater environmental responsibility. So businesses should go beyond regulatory compliance, go on beyond the baseline of what's required. Leader companies in the Global Compact have an obligation to do this. And finally, businesses should encourage the development and diffusion of environmentally friendly technologies. And this is where the diffusion aspect of becoming a leader, being an institutional entrepreneur, comes into play. There are a couple of environmental leadership platforms that are ongoing at the Compact. One is the CEO Water Mandate, where signatories promote water sustainability strategies and engage in public policy development around water policy, and Caring for Climate, which is one of the more successful platforms of the Compact, where they engage together to think about and integrate practical strategies to address and, as I said, to adapt to climate change. I'm participating in the Caring for Climate initiative myself, and most of the time we're talking about adaptation, not mitigation. So how do these companies work within their organizations as they participate in these initiatives? They have a process of assessing their strategy, of doing some external benchmarking, talking to each other, seeing what's going on, thinking about what kinds of internal management systems and tools they could put into place to promote environmental solutions, engage in leadership in that strategy, make sure that within the company and within the supply chain their leadership is exercised, and then finally speak out, talk about what they're doing, engage in public policy. What I was involved in was developing an environmental stewardship strategy that kind of rolled all of these initiatives in together to embed a process with a management process within the companies to promote a larger environmental stewardship. This was an idea that came in advance of the 10th anniversary of the Global Compact, and I want to talk a little bit about how we worked with the 30 members, 30 leader companies, leader transnational corporation participated with us in the development of the environmental stewardship strategy. These 30 members are probably among the 75 that participate in multiple initiatives. Yesterday, Lilo talked about how 370 members participated in Caring for Climate, and 80 members participate in the CEO water mandate. But this is what we did. This is the product that my research team, I have a wonderful, wonderful group of students working with me who at Duke we have a very strong focus on interdisciplinarity. So my research team is made up of MBA students, Masters in Engineering students, students who are getting a master's degree in public policy, as well as in my home school, which is the School of the Environment, a master's of environmental management. So we worked last year, we're continuing our work this year to develop a management model. Now, I think you've probably seen this model perhaps yesterday when Eric was talking, right? But one thing you might notice is his model had 6 steps. So you can count my model. It has what? 9 steps or 8 steps, right? We added steps, and this is an example of how when you take a management model and you give it to someone else, it can change to meet the circumstances. As an academic, this was crazy. What happened to me was we were working along. We had done interviews with the 30 members. We had meetings with the 30 members, extensive interviews, gathered data. I was really excited. Gathering data is really exciting to an academic. And we were coming up with our management model, which we thought was a nice report, and it was not a Nautilus kind of thing like this. And Gavin Power called us and said, no, you have to use the model, the management model that we just came up with. And we had to stop our work and hustle around and figure out how are we going to put our results into a management model. And we had already had a scheduled meeting in Geneva with our 30 participants, so we presented it to them, and they said, oh, no, 6 is not enough. You're missing 2 steps. So this is what we came up with. My students are very unhappy. They don't like it, so I'll tell you the story of what we're doing with it this year. That was last year. What we also wanted to incorporate was 4 principles that we thought were important. One was that leader companies need to embed environmental strategy into all facets of their organization. They need to balance short-term and long-term impacts. That's something that we always think about with the environment and is difficult in a financial time frame. We need to diffuse the best practices along value chains, sort of so the embed is sort of horizontal, the diffuse is or vertical, the diffuse is horizontal, and then we need to translate. We really need to communicate what we're doing to all of our stakeholders, all of them. So what our model does now is we have examples from companies that are engaging in all of the steps in the environmental stewardship strategy model. We feature case studies. This is now I'm young enough, I guess, to depend on PowerPoint, but I'm not young enough to really understand social networking, so those of you in the back can help me. This is an interactive website. The website address is on the bottom. I hope you'll go visit it. You can join our member community. We hope the companies will engage and participate by putting in their case studies, and we also highlight issues. The spotlight this year is on biodiversity. We're working quite hard on incorporating case studies on biodiversity. I wish that Kevin McKnight was still here so I could talk to him about including an Alcoa's case study. So what's happened this year is, as I said, my students are unhappy with the extra steps. They don't even like 6 steps. So now we have redesigned it this year to be a more manageable model where we have recommit, assess, measure, manage, evaluate, and integrate. This makes more sense to us. It is a total quality management model and one that we're quite familiar with. So this is what we're working on this year. Here's how we define the steps. The assess step is to identify major environmental impacts and management priorities. Measure is we're looking very hard to find best available tools, best in class, to measure impacts, set baselines, and benchmark. All of these measurement tools will be highlighted on the website. The next step is to manage, of course, to set goals, to identify and implement strategies. So you can see we've combined a couple of the steps from the overall management model. Of course, you want to evaluate, measure your progress against goals, and adjust, and then integrate. So you want to infuse strategic environmental stewardship practices throughout your business, vertically and horizontally throughout your supply chain. And again, we are hoping that the recommit step will really be emphasized through the Global Compact to publicly communicate ongoing commitment to the process. So this is where we are today. This is just an example. If you, the website is designed so if you click on one of those buttons, then you can look more in depth at what each of these steps mean. And I won't go in detail about that. What I really want to talk about, though, is how this experience, how getting to know these member companies has helped me to think about the future, because that's what this session is about. What is needed to cultivate future environmental leaders, and how can the Compact help us with that? I think we need to really focus on critical issues like protecting water resources. Valuing ecosystem services is quite important. Promoting renewable energy, and as I've said many, many times already in my presentation, adapting to climate change. Let's forget about mitigation. We need to move on to adaptation, unfortunately. We need to increase participation of companies in local networks so that they can share. As an environmental scholar, I think the emphasis on the place where we work, on the environment, on the ecosystems is really important. I kind of think that local networks means country networks in the parlance of the United Nations Global Compacts. I'd like to see smaller networks. We really need to be connected to the place so that we understand. Again, I don't mean to emphasize too much the work of Alcoa, but when Alcoa went into the Amazon, they really needed to learn about what was going on in the Amazon. I think that's a big step for a company. I'm a little bit maybe suspicious of the motivations for doing that, and that they really needed to think hard about why they were there in the first place, I should say. We need to, I think, increase use of social networking tools, although I don't really understand how to use them. My students are really helping me, and they think that's quite important. It engages people from all over the world in coming together around these important issues. And then finally, we talked a lot today about the members of the Global Compact, these 7,000 transnational corporations. I think it's essential to solve important problems in the environment that we look to small businesses to participate in the Global Compact. We cannot have a global organization that is addressing critical environmental issues without the participation of small business. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.